Hello, welcome to a library appreciation video. I absolutely love my library. I have lived in a lot of different places, and every time I get a new address in a new place, the first thing I do is get a library card. I don't feel like I feel at home until I have access to a library. So last year, I had a sort of game system that I was using with my reading goals to earn points to then buy prizes. And one of the prizes that I bought was allowing myself to request a bunch of books be sent to me from my libraries. We have a system where you can say, oh, I want this book, but it's not at my home library. It's in, the library 2 towns over. And they'll send it to you, and you can do that for free. And so I let myself request a ton of books. I'm going to be showing you all the books, but I don't want to show you them all in one chunk because there's just a lot of them that I have out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to break this library haul, up into chunks throughout the vlog. And so you'll see some books and then me reading, doing some stuff, maybe doing some library visits and things like that. And then we'll go back to more books being hauled. So we're going to start off with 2 of my smaller stacks being science fiction and then some lit fic. So let's start with the science fiction books. I have Saha by Cho Nam-ju. This is about, I think, a dystopian apartment building where people who are in this apartment building are very poor, and I think a death happens and things kind of go from there. Sounds really interesting. It's translated. Sounds like a fun time. We have a very tiny book, Mapping the Interior by Stephen Graham Jones. I have been loving reading things from Stephen Graham Jones, and this is a small 100-page novella called Mapping the Interior. This is about a house, I think, that is bigger on the inside or something like that. Geometry doesn't make sense in this house. We have Dark Matter by Blake Crouch, which I have successfully avoided knowing what this book is about, considering it's been out for so long. I just know it's a science fiction thriller, and I've just always kind of wanted to dive into it without knowing anything about it. So that's what I'm going to do. And then my last science fiction book that I have out is The Fallen Fruit by Chantel Madison. This is a book, I think it kind of reminds me of Kindred by Octavia Butler, where it's about this Black woman who goes back in time and is kind of trying to survive. She goes back from 1964 and then goes back in time to some unknown time. Apparently this is something that just happens in her family, and it happens to her. It sounds like an interesting book. I really love Kindred by Octavia Butler, so I'm excited to see if this one kind of reimagining, maybe inspired by, I don't know. But it just sounds like a really interesting book. So we have this book out. You've seen this on my channel before if you've been here a while. Go Tell the Bees I'm Gone. This is the most recently published book in the Outlander series by Diana Gabaldon. I have not read it yet. It is long, but I want to read it because the next book will be coming out in the next, hopefully, year or two, depending on when the author finishes it, but I would like to read it. This is, I think, the 9th one. So we're deep into the series, and I want to keep it going while the last book is kind of fresh in my mind. And then we have Moderation by Elaine Castillo. This is about a woman who works as a social media moderator and just kind of sees the worst of humanity. This is on the Women's Prize for Fiction long list. And I always check out the long list just to see if there are any books that catch my eye, and this one did, and I want to read it. This is a book that has been read and recommended by a couple of friends, Cloud Cuckoo Land by Anthony Doerr. I've heard that this is a book that has a lot of plot lines throughout time that kind of all intersect in some way. I don't know what that way is, but I've heard this is delightful, so I want to read it. This is The Names by Florence Knapp. I picked this one up because it's going to be the Shelf This Book Club book for May, which we still have like a month and a half, but just in case I want to get to it early, I might get to it, and the hold just came in earlier than I expected. So I have this. I can probably keep it for a while, but that's what this one's for. I don't really know anything about it. I don't mind going in blind for the Shelf This books. Okay, now let's go do some reading. I am here to update you with a book that I'm reading for this Loving My Library reading vlog, and the first book that I decided to pick up, because it only has 2 weeks on it before it needs to go back, and it has a lot of holds on it, is The Names by Florence Knapp. I have it physically, but I forgot it upstairs. This book is about a woman who's in an abusive relationship, and she has given birth to a baby boy. She has, I think, a 7-year-old daughter or some around that age. And she is going to the registrar to like register the baby's birth and register the baby's name. And the dad has given her instructions like, you are to name this baby Gordon. It's his family name, so it's his name and his father's name. And the mom is sort of like, she's planning to go along with what he wants. She's just going to name him Gordon because she doesn't feel like she can have a say in what she names the baby because the husband is so abusive and domineering. But she sort of fantasizes. She asks her daughter, what would you name the baby? And her daughter says Bear, and she was like, oh, what a nice name. And she's like, I would like to name him Julian. And so then the rest of the story is following these little sections about what would have happened, how life would have turned out if she would have named the baby Bear or Julian or Gordon. And so we're just getting these small chapters. So we'll get one of Bear, one of Julian, one of Gordon, one of Bear, one of Julian, one of Gordon, and kind of following that throughout time. I'm liking it so far. Very intense on the domestic violence, very intense right away in things that are happening. The dad is a despicable human being, and you just feel the fear that the woman would be feeling, the mom. I can't remember her name right now for some reason. You just feel the want to not anger the dad. Gordon. And so that's done really well, but it's very intense. And so I did like the first section of each 3 of the names, and I just got to the second section, which is pushing forward 7 years. And I will say I'm not sure how I'm gonna like this overall, because it does feel a little disjointed. It's hard for me to sort of understand right now, like, why are these things happening just because of a name? And I'm not sure if we're going to get more info on that later on or not, or if it's just a what if scenario and it's not supposed to like make sense per se, but more just supposed to be like, these are the things that are happening. So I will update you when I have more to say. Oh, and I did want to say I'm reading this for the Shelf This Book Club, hosted by Bailey at Is Bailey Reading. This is a book club with a lot of my friends that I've joined in on over the past like year and a half, and it's been a lot of fun reading books along with them. This one is picked by Kayla at Kayla Ray Reads, and I believe, if I'm wrong on that, I will correct myself on the text, but I believe it was picked by Kayla. So I hope that we enjoy it. We had some really bad ones a couple months ago and then a good one, and so I'm hoping that this will be another good one. And look who came to say hello. He's very sleepy. He's ready for bed. He was actually just out looking out the window. Hello, I'm here to update you that I have finished the names. I think I'm landing on giving it like a 3.5 to a 4-star. I'm not sure exactly where. Maybe I'll give it 3.75. I'm not positive. It was a really good book. I enjoyed my time all the way through it. However, I'm not 100% sure what the point of it was. I don't know. It's interesting because it kind of just felt, once I got to the end, I was like, okay, was this just a thought experiment? I didn't understand why the different names made the life of the characters so different, yet in some ways I feel like they all kind of ended in the same place, and maybe that was the point. It's like your name doesn't determine who you were, but then like the name also did affect some things. So I don't know, I enjoyed it, but I didn't love it. I did think, like, as I was reading, because we were alternating the names, so it would be like a chapter of Bear, a chapter of Julian, and then a chapter of Gordon, and then we'd have a chapter of each of them, then it would flash forward 7 years, and we'd have a chapter of each of them, and so there was a lot of jumping around within the story, because we go from Bear to Julian to Gordon, then we jump 7 years. In the new chapter with Bear, we have to kind of catch up on what's happened in the last 7 years. So sometimes it felt a little fractured, and I would lose track or forget because some characters were in multiple timelines or stories. So, like, there might be a Lily in 2 of the 3 things because it's the same Lily, but things are happening differently based on different things. So I would sometimes get confused, and I'd forget, like, what is Lily to Julian compared to what is Lily to Bear. And things like that I thought were a little confusing. I thought it was such an interesting structure for a story. I thought it was really ambitious, and I think for the most part it worked. Like I said, I think I just didn't know what the point was, or if the author was trying to make a point, or was she just trying to write a uniquely structured novel. I'm not sure, but it definitely, like, had me thinking. I think I really liked the epilogue. I thought kind of brought it together. I thought it could have been brought together a little bit more. I kind of thought it was going one way that would have tied everything together, and then it didn't. So I don't know. I enjoyed it, but I didn't love it. But I'm glad I read it because it was unique, a unique structure, interesting, thought experiment. So overall, I don't feel like I wasted my time at all. It was interesting. I just thought there could have been a little more of a point, I guess. I don't know. I'm going to be very interested to see what my friends think when they read it in the book club, and see if anyone, like, gleaned something that I didn't, and maybe they can, like, help explain it more to me. And then I'm listening on audio because I get all of my audiobooks from my library, Libby. I'm listening to The Keeper of Lost Causes by an author whose name I'm forgetting. It's a Danish author. This is translated from the Danish. It's a crime novel, and it's really good so far. I have heard good things about this. It's the Department Q series, which has been made into a TV series, I think, with David Tennant as the main character. And I could see this being a really good series. I could see David Tennant playing the main character well. This is about, like, the Danish police and how they have this guy who is just, he's a crabby guy. He was in like a shooting as a police officer. His partner got really badly injured. He got shot, but not as badly injured. And he's just kind of over it. It kind of seems like people don't like working with him. He's a terrible partner right now. And so he gets taken and put into this new department that is Department Q. And he's in charge of basically like going through lost cases that haven't been solved. The police department's kind of overwhelmed with these cases that haven't been solved. And so Carl, the main guy, at first he's like, sure, I'll try to solve these cases, and he's not really doing the work. But then he kind of gets stuck on this one case where I think it's like a ferry or some kind of boat, a woman disappeared. They think she went overboard. She has like a disabled brother, like mentally disabled brother, and he was alive, but his sister disappeared. And so he's kind of trying to figure out what happened in this case, even though it seems kind of open and shut. Like she just fell overboard and they didn't find the body ever. But there's something more going on, because we are flashing between seeing what happened with Carl and actually seeing what happened to the sister, which is that she's been taken and she's being held captive by people for a reason that we don't know yet. So I'm listening to that. I'm like 33% of the way through. It's really good. It's really gripping. I'm liking the writing. And the flashes that we get to the woman who's been kidnapped, the sister, she is in this like horrible situation, and it's really quite intense reading from her point of view and knowing that like the police don't know she's alive. They kind of think she's dead, but they're kind of looking into it. It creates this really tense atmosphere where you're going like, oh my gosh, she's in this horrible situation. You guys need to like figure this out, because she's just like being held captive for like years. It's terrible. And so it's really good. I'm enjoying the audiobook. I'm able to listen to it on like 1.5 speed because the narrator reads quite slowly. And I'm having a really good time with it. So thank you, library, for giving me access to audiobooks, because I would not pay for audiobooks like ever, I don't think. But I enjoy listening to them every once in a while. Okay, next we're going to tackle the fantasy. This is the largest section, and then the last one will be mystery and horror. So this one's going to be solely fantasy. We have very exciting book, Crucible of Chaos by Sebastian de Castell. I have read the Greatcoats series by him, and this is a book set in the world of the Greatcoats, but I believe following different characters, maybe the same characters. I don't know, but I'm excited. I really love that series so much, and I'm excited that there's more in that world. We have The Mirror Empire by Kameron Hurley. This is the first in a series, I believe, though I don't know how long this series is. So apparently in this world, there's some like reoccurring, like catastrophic event that happens, maybe a lot of nations like coming together and fighting each other. And this is about a young orphan girl who is in the middle of that. I think it's going to be political. I think it's going to be kind of dark. Sounds really interesting. I'm really interested in reading Kameron Hurley and trying out her work. We have The Bookshop Below by Georgia Summers. This is I think maybe slightly cozy fantasy. It's about like a secret bookshop that can like give you exactly what you need when you need it or something like that. And it just sounds cute and fun. The bookshop owner dies and someone who like knows that the woman dies like takes it over or something like that. It sounds really good. This is a new release. I just kind of want to go into it not knowing like too much about it, but it sounds like it'd be really fun. Another book by Sebastian de Castell. This is The Malevolent Seven. I believe this is a standalone, all about like a ragtag group of sort of not good people. I don't know if they're villains per se, but like people who are definitely like gray area, thinking like mercenaries and stuff like that, who come together to do something for good. I don't know if the duology is all that's in this series, but House of Salt and Sorrows by Aaron A. Craig and House of Roots and Ruin. This is a duology. I believe they are fairy tale retellings. If I remember right, this is a 12 Dancing Princesses retelling. This is the one I'm really interested in, though. This is a Bluebeard retelling, and I love Bluebeard retellings. They're some of my favorite stories. I've read a lot in short story collections, and there aren't a ton of novels written about Bluebeard, and I actually have at least one more in this haul that you'll see. But I really want to read this one. I'm not sure if you need to read them together, so I'm going to try this one. Even if I don't like it, I might go into this one just because I want the Bluebeard retelling. I believe these are both YA. Yes. But I've heard good things about Aaron Craig. Okay, we have sequels to a series that I have just started. I'm assuming you'll have seen that I've read Senlin Ascends by the time you get to this. At the time of filming, I'm like 60 pages into it and I'm loving it. And so I'm just so excited about this series. I have books 2, 3, and 4 in that series. It's a quartet. It's completed. The Arm of the Sphinx, The Hod King, and The Fall of Babel. I love it. It's all about a man and a woman who are on their honeymoon and they're going to the Tower of Babel, and then the man loses his wife and decides that going into the tower is how he's going to find her, and the tower is weird. Each level is like something different, and it's chaotic and fun, and I love it, and I'm so excited to read it. They're just chunky, but I'm very excited to read it. Next, we have a book by Tashan Mehta, Mad Sisters of Essie. I'm going to read you just the beginning of the description because this is what kind of catches me. It says, ask for the story of the Mad Sisters of Essie, and you'll get 1,000 contradictory folktales. Superstitious sailors, curious children, and obsessed academics have argued over the particulars for generations. They have wondered about the Mad Sisters' two greatest marvels, the museum of collective memory that sprawls beneath our universe, waiting for any who call for it, and the living, impossible Whale of Babel. And I think it's about like a space whale and women who are seen as crazy who maybe are, maybe aren't. And I don't really know much more than that, but it sounds wacky and weird, fun, by an author of color. Like, what more could I want? Next, we have a book by Ken Liu. This is his other short story collection. I love The Paper Menagerie by him. If you haven't read it, I think it should be mandatory reading for science fiction fantasy lovers. It's so good, and I'm hoping that this short story collection will also be good. I've read The Hidden Girl in The Book of Swords, which is another short story collection, so I've read that one, but I haven't read any of the other ones in here, so I'm excited to get to these. And then we have another duology, A Conspiracy of Truths and A Choir of Lies. This is by Alexandra Rowland. The reason I'm particularly interested in this is there's a storyteller in this who is accused of witchcraft and arrested. And it's him telling a story to kind of help get himself out of jail, I believe. So he's not killed for being a witch or a spy. And I love books where a narrator is like telling you a story. I love it so much. And so I'm hoping that this will be a really good duology. Okay, library book update. I have finished 2. So I listened to The Keeper of the Lost Causes. I finished that one. And I think I ended on like a 3.5 star. So I liked the mystery. However, I was not loving like all of the police drama that was involved with it. There's like restructuring of the police department, and there was a lot of talk about that. And there was talk about like promotions and all that stuff in like the main detective's life. And I didn't find that as interesting as the actual mystery. So that kind of knocked it down a little bit just because we had quite a bit of talk about that and not the actual like detective portion of it was sort of overshadowed by all of like the politics in the police department. And then the actual mystery, I liked it a lot. I thought it was really good how it all wrapped up. The one thing that I did have issues with in the last half of the book was the main male character, the detective that we're following. There was a lot of talk about women that was a very like objectifying way of talking about them, and I couldn't tell how purposeful that was being. And it was just, there was a lot of talk about women's breasts and lips constantly, like, I don't know, just in such an icky way, especially because one of them, I believe, is going to be a main love interest, and he was just talking about her in such an objectifying, like, gross way that I was like, I'm not enjoying this at all, and I'm not rooting for him to get together with anyone because he's just completely objectifying them. So, I don't know, I wasn't a fan of that at all either, so that kind of knocked it down a peg. Because it wasn't just, like, one moment, it was, like, anytime that character was on screen, so to speak, in the book, he was talking about her breasts and her lips and how much he wanted to, like, sleep with her, but he couldn't because she's a psychologist, and he was, like, seeing her, and he was like, oh, that'd be messy, and I don't know, it's just, it was a little weird. I don't know. So I think I'm going to continue on with the next book, see how I feel, see if I'm more intrigued as we're kind of like done with all the setup of the story, see how it goes with like the objectification and stuff like that, and just see how I like it. I'll probably listen to it on audiobook as well and see if it's a series I want to continue, because there's like 10 books. So if they're all relatively good, it would be nice to have like a good audiobook series I can kind of listen to. And then the book that I just started last night and finished this morning was The Extra by Annie Neugebauer. And I loved this. This was a 5-star read for me. This is a little novella. It's about 115 pages. And the setup is so good, and the way it was executed was so good. So this is about like a university camping trip where there's like a guide with two like student staff guides who take 7 people along with them and do like a hike, like a nature hike, as, I don't know, like a celebration or something. They just like offer it for students. And so there's supposed to be 10 people, and as they're hiking, they're doing like a head count. We're following the guide's point of view. And as he's doing the head count, he's like, wait, there's 11 people here. And he's like, we only have 10 people on this trip. How are we counting 11 people? And so he like counts again, and he asks his staff to count, and they're all getting the wrong number, 11. But then when he's like thinking of the people on this trip, he like knows all of them. He's like, no one is not supposed to be here. And he remembers like everyone signing up for the trip and everyone being there. And the story kind of evolves from there. I don't want to tell you too much because it's short. It's very psychological horror. It's creepy without being scary. And there's a lot of like how do you trust your own memories? Is something supernatural happening? Is there another explanation for it? It's the panic, the paranoia of like something is wrong, but we don't know what it is, and how do we fix it? It was so good. I would highly recommend this. I was reading, and I think this year and then in 2027, she's going to have 2 other novellas in like a shared universe that I will 100% be picking up. This was so much fun. I would highly recommend you check it out. I'm going to be looking for more of her work as she writes, because it was just so good and so creepy and weird. A lot of things are left unexplained, but in like the best way. Like, I don't think a simple explanation would have been good enough for this. Like, you kind of want a little bit of mystery to keep you thinking on it afterwards. And it was short. It didn't overstay its welcome. The action was just right. The like downtime was just right. It was so good. Like, what a perfect novella. Okay, here we are, final stack of books that I have to tell you about. We're going to start off with the horror, and then we'll end with the mystery books. Okay, here is another Bluebeard retelling. I don't know anything about this other than that it's a Bluebeard retelling. I'm going into it without knowing anything. This is Sour Cherry by Natalia Theodorodou. Theodorodou? I'm really excited for this. I had seen this around and had no idea it was a Blackbeard retelling. As soon as I found out, I was like, yep, gonna read it. I love Blackbeard retellings. The Fisherman by John Langan. I have heard a lot of good things about this. I've heard it has a sort of like epic horror, think like Lovecraftian horror, vibe to it. This is about, I think, 2 men who have lost their wives and they're going on like a fishing trip. Something like that. And then things get weird and scary. I've heard this is very, very good. I have 2 books by Victor LaValle because I think I'm really gonna like his books. And I actually listened to about half of The Changeling years and years ago, but I have found that certain books don't work for me on audiobook. And this one is a long audiobook. This is like 430 pages. And it's pretty dense. And I don't know, I get kind of bored with certain audiobooks partway through. Even though I'm enjoying the story, I get tired of listening to it. But I still remember things that were happening in it. And I'm like, I do want to know what happens. And this is years ago. I forget books that I read very quickly, especially books that I DNF. This one I remember, so I want to go back to it. It's about a young man whose dad had left him with like some weird things, strange recurring dreams, and a box of books stamped with the word improbabilia. And this is about him as like a grown-up, and weird things start happening. So, sounds really good. And then this one sounds really good. This is called Lone Women, same author, Victor LaValle. And this is about a woman in like the Western expansion time, 1915. And this woman, I believe, is headed to California and she's dragging a trunk. And I want to know what's in the trunk. Why is she dragging this trunk around with her? That's such a good hook that makes me want to read it. So I'm intrigued by this one as well. We have The Staircase in the Woods by Chuck Wendig. I haven't read any Chuck Wendig, but I do find the premises of his books to be very interesting. So this one, there's a group of teens, I think. Yeah, high schoolers who are in the woods. They have like this bond to like always like stick up for each other, protect each other. And then a staircase in the woods shows up and one of them goes up and doesn't come back down. And this is them revisiting. Oh, and then the staircase disappears. And then this is them like revisiting it like years later, figuring out what happened. Sounds whimsical, horror and fun and weird. Hopefully a little scary. We have The Bald Wife by Kay Cronister. I read Desert Creatures by Kay Cronister last January. for the Shelf This Book Club. I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. It was weird. It was not horror, but it was weird, very atmospheric, a bit nonsensical, a bit dense, but weird, and I loved it. This is her newest book, which I think was new last January, and I want to read it. This is an Appalachian Gothic novel, and I absolutely love folk horror, and I think this is going to lean into the folk horror a little bit. This is about, like, the Hadsley family, and they sort of have this bargain with this cranberry bog where they take care of the land and the land takes care of them, and something happens to, like, disrupt that deal, and the family is maybe in danger. It sounds really atmospheric, which is what I loved about Desert Creatures, so I'm hoping that this gives us the same vibe. And lastly, for horror, we have The Macabre by Kosoko Jackson, and this is about a man who is an artist who makes paintings, and he makes a painting of a painting that one of his ancestors made like years ago, and suddenly the British Museum, I think? Yeah, the British Museum like contacts him, and they want to see if he has magic that allows him to enter into paintings. That sounds really fun. I love like a fantastical horror. I mean, obviously a lot of horror is fantastical, but when it has that like element of almost like a whimsy or just a weird something out of this world, a little magical, this sounds really fun. Okay, let's jump into the mysteries. We have the Mill House Murders. I read the Decagon House Murders a couple years back for Wonderthon, a readathon, and really enjoyed it. This is a translated Japanese mystery. The first one read very much like And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie, just with a big focus on like the actual house. And so I think that's why this is called the Mill House Murders. I think the house is going to have a special kind of place in the novel. So that sounds fun. I haven't read anything about it. I just know I want to read it because I enjoyed the Decagon House Murders. Next, we have The Birthday Party by a French person whose name I'm going to try to say, Laurent Mauvinier? Maybe something like that. I think this is going to be like a mixture of a mystery and literary fiction. I didn't know quite where to put it, but this is about like rural France, and there's this cute little hamlet of people, and this guy is planning his wife's 40th birthday party, and then weird things start happening, and it's just kind of about like this town or little village and what happens when something is coming in to disrupt it. This has teeny tiny writing, and it's, you know, not super thick, but not super short. So I'm hoping this is going to be like a very like a book that like is filled with dread. Like I love that feeling of like something is not right, but we don't know what it is. And so I'm hoping we're going to get that from this. And I don't mind when a mystery like slows down and takes its time if it has like compelling characters. And I'm hoping that since we're in like a little village, maybe the characters will be really strong. That's what I'm hoping for, at least. And then we have The Enigma of Room 622 by Joel Dicker. This is a translated, yes, this is translated from French as well. And I don't know much about this except for there's a writer and a hotel. And it's a mystery. That's all I want to know. That sounds fun. I've heard very good things about this author, and specifically my team from Wonderthon last year, a few people were like really hyping up this book that is really good, and I just didn't get to it because it was chunky and I was reading other things. So I'm excited to like sink my teeth into this one. This is a recommendation. It's The Eighth Detective by Alex Pavesi. This is a recommendation from Books Like Whoa. She reads a lot of mysteries, and I've recently discovered her channel, and I've been adding a lot of mysteries that she has recommended as very good as someone who's like read very widely. So she's often looking for like the cream of the crop when it comes to detective fiction, mysteries, and she said this one is really good. So this is about a man who writes like a short story collection where there are 7 mysteries and they're kind of like the perfect crime or something like that, the perfect mysteries. And years later, a woman is coming to him after he's kind of retired, and she's like, I want to republish your book. And so they're like combing through the book, and she starts to notice some inconsistencies, and she maybe thinks that like there were actual crimes that were committed. I think that's what this is going for. And so I'm really excited to read this. That sounds fun. It's kind of like a meta about like classic detective fiction, a love letter to mysteries and the writing of them. This sounds like a really good time. Okay, so those are all the books I have for you, but it is not all of the reading I have left for you. So we're going to pass it on to future Cheyenne to kind of wrap up the reading and then wrap up the vlog. Hi, I'm here with an update. I've been terrible about updating this particular video, but I'm on what will be the final book for this vlog, and that is Strange Buildings by Uketsu. You did not see this in the haul because I just ordered it like, I don't know, a week ago, and it came in like super fast. So I've been reading it. I'm about 2/3 of the way done. This is like a book of short stories all about weird buildings and weird things that happen in buildings. It's accompanied by a lot of pictures. The front cover has some of the pictures that are in the book themselves. And then this last section, I'm like 10 pages away from it, is going to be like the main character, like putting all 11 stories together, like they're connected somehow. So I've been reading along and trying to figure out how everything's connected. And I'm just having a great time with it. I really enjoy this series. I've read Strange Pictures, and it's really fun. It's a little bit silly at times. Like sometimes the stories are a little ridiculous and a little over dramatic, but at the same time, they're kind of there and then gone. They're like maybe 20 pages with a large portion of those pages being taken up with pictures. So it definitely is just like a fun, lighthearted mystery, sometimes a little creepy horror-ish at times kind of book. It's not the best writing ever, but it's not bad. I actually think the writing in this one is maybe better than in Strange Pictures, which was the second one. This is the third one. So I'll be interested to know how the first book goes, if that's like the worst writing or not, because I think Strange Pictures, the writing was a little rough to get through. It was hard to kind of put my finger on it, but it just felt a little simplistic, I guess, in a way that wasn't like purposely simplistic. It just seemed like, you know, Uketsu is a YouTuber, not a writer. They've become quite famous for writing Strange Pictures and then other things, but they were a YouTuber primarily before this. And so I think that maybe they're just honing their writing skills as they're, you know, writing more, and that they hadn't had that practice before. But I'm having a really good time with it. I'll update you once I've finished and the whole 11 stories have all been connected and tell you what I think. Okay, I'm back and I'm finished with the final book for this video, Strange Buildings by Uketsu. I enjoyed this book quite a bit. It is quite chunky. There is, in the first 2/3, these like short stories about these weird happenings, and as I was reading them, I could already start to see some connections. But this last third spent a lot of time like summarizing everything and then explaining the connections. And I enjoyed that part. I think because this reads very quickly and I read it within just like a couple days, I do think that the ending part where it was like summarizing all these stories that we just read felt a little repetitive, but also I get why they did that. If you're not reading it as fast as I did, or if you're just struggling to like remember all the details, because all of the stories can be quite different, but some of them are kind of similar. And so I kind of feel like it did need to do the summary, but that did make this last third like a little bit, I kind of wanted to skim through the last third to kind of get to the ending and tying everything up. But I thought this was fun. Something I like about Uketsu's work is how like he'll have the characters like theorizing what they think is happening, and then you know, it'll kind of seem like, oh yeah, that makes everything make sense. And then one of the characters will be like, oh wait, but there's this like unexplained thing and we need to like change our whole idea based on this one sort of deduction that's happening. It's very Sherlock Holmes, especially like the character that they talk to who's like doing the deducing at the end. Very Sherlock Holmes of like piecing together all these little things and going, wait, you thought this was what was happening, but actually it's this. And so I really had a good time with it. It's not something I'm going to think about for a long time. It's a very simple kind of book. Just all these weird little mysteries, and then it like solves all of them, wraps them up in a bow, and you're done. So it's not like life-changing, but it is fun and interesting, and I always enjoy it when I read it. So I'm glad to have read this one. Hopefully I'll be able to read the first one, Strange Houses, before long, and just kind of enjoy that one as well. Very much like a palate cleanser for me. Not something I like love, but something that just is a solid, enjoyable, like 3.5 kind of star rating for me. So I enjoyed this. And that wraps up all the books I'm going to be reading from my library for now. Let me know if you saw any of the books that I hauled from my library. If you have any of them that you think I should definitely prioritize getting to sooner rather than later. I am going to have to be sending some of them back because Wonderthon is going to be happening. But the nice thing about the library is you can always check them out again. So if I don't get to them right away, I don't sweat it. I just, think about maybe getting them again sometime. Not a big deal. I've been kind of clearing out my library stack quite a bit to get ready for those Wonderthon books that are coming in. And so I just love my library. I hope if you have a library that you've been neglecting, that you will either utilize your Libby for digital books and audiobooks, or maybe go check them out. Maybe check out a new branch you haven't before. Libraries are so important and so great. I would not be able to be the reader I was without a library. I've never been someone that's had enough money that I can buy all the new books that I want. Most of these books are used. The ones that I buy brand new, I buy very sparingly. And the library is where I get most of my reads since as long as I can remember. I've been getting books from the library. They have a very special place in my heart, and I hope that you show them a little extra love because they definitely need it. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye!